Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's Sabrina.
And I'm Michael, guys.
And we are going to be reviewing Zack Snyder's Justice League release on HBO Max that just, oh my gosh, that just came out. I'm speechless right now. So I'm actually pretty excited to go and talk about this particular movie.
Oh my God, what an experience, guys. What an experience.
Get ready. We're going to have this in-depth little conversation here.
Let's do this, guys.
Okay.
All right, guys. So we just finished watching the Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I have to say, oh my God, it was... I can't believe that this was what they showed back in 2017 compared to this was completely such a different storyline. Like the angle was completely different. Now I know a while back there was talks that Zack Snyder was looking to do a two-part in Justice League, right? And so there'll be Justice League 1, Justice League 2. But, you know, just seeing this, and I'll have to say, I don't know about you, Sabrina, but even though it was 4 hours, it didn't seem like 4 hours.
No, and I think it's because they set it up into chapters.
Yes.
I read books, and so to kind of put this movie into chapters was really, really, really nice. It kind of made me feel really good about it. But at the same time, it allowed you to, for some reason, the pace of the movie seemed to flow really well.
Really, really well.
And time did not seem to feel so stretched and tiring. It was really good.
It was good. I mean,
smart of them.
It was a very smart, and they really, extended it a lot, right? The build up to it, and like you said, going back, the pace of the movie was really good. So if you haven't seen it yet, 4 hours actually goes by pretty fast, and it looks, you don't even realize it because you're so engulfed, you're so immersed into watching what's going on with each story, which each segment that goes on with each chapter, as Sabrina would said. It really went well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Where should we start with this as far as there's so much to talk about, you guys. So much to talk about. But I think the huge noticeable thing, of course, is the comparison of the original release, the theater release, right? That was what, 2017?
2017.
And then now 2021 with Zack Snyder's. And I'm sure you guys can agree with this. It's just the story itself, where they took the story and the difference. It was like night and day.
Clearly.
Night and day.
So before we jump to the story, I want to talk to you about the characters and what you thought about the character development. So I want to start off with this first and foremost.
Okay.
First,
we'll do that then.
So in the first movie in 2017 that was released, we knew that Steppenwolf was the main antagonist.
Yeah.
Right? But we didn't know why he was the main antagonist. In this movie, we see why he is doing what he's doing. He actually explains why he's doing. His role was much bigger than it was in the movie. His role, he had more talking points. He had a reason what he was doing for, what his mission and purpose was. And it all made sense why he was there.
It's almost as though his only reason for existence was to prove and please Darkseid, y'all.
Yeah.
Darkseid. And it's almost as though he's trying to get some form of redemption.
Yeah.
Right? For something that he has done. And the only way he was going to get on Darkseid's good graces was, of course, to take over, find the three mother boxes.
Yep.
And take complete control of planet Earth.
Yeah.
Right? Planet Earth. And along the way, he discovers something. The mother box, or mother boxes, tell him something or show him something. And that just completely heightened the storyline.
Even more so, yeah.
Even more so. And then you also get a glimpse of exactly what Darkseid's focus.
Yeah.
Was that even a
well, you see a
fair
part of,
word to even say focus?
Well, you could definitely see what his plan was, right? And what he's been trying to do. And when Steppenwolf discovers this, even more so, like Sabrina says, when he discovers the mother boxes, it does change the movie a little bit more. And now
yeah.
we see why Darkseid's going to even entertain this. So we're going to continue with that. But the other one that I want to mention is in this movie, in the beginning, right, we see a different kind of Wonder Woman. And I love the beginning scene of Wonder Woman because here we see what Wonder Woman is really all about.
Yes.
She is a violent warrior.
They did not candy coat this one.
No, they did not hold back on her. And
No.
I'm so happy
It
that
is
they did.
absolutely refreshing to see that if in fact she is an Amazonian warrior, to carry that title of a warrior, you would think that she has had centuries of
battle experience,
violence and battle and death and all kinds of things that you could potentially think of. Just blood and guts. And here it is. They didn't basically, how do I do this? How do I say this? More like they didn't hold back.
They didn't hold back. They really showed her. And those guys in the beginning, they're all dead. I'm just going to say that. They're all dead. They did.
They did.
She killed them with no remorse.
No.
And it was refreshing.
The first one where they were in that building in Europe. And all of a sudden, she just threw that guy up along the wall, up against the wall. And you just see this splat. And at first, you're not sure what has taken place here. Like, what on that guy's body part splatted? But then when you see the dent in the wall, in the I think it's a stone wall, right?
Yeah.
And just the impact, you can only just imagine that there's just no coming back from that.
What was great about seeing that fight sequence in the very beginning with Wonder Woman in the bank scene, it reminded me of Man of Steel when Fiora was fighting the soldiers, how they enhanced it, how they made it like that.
Okay.
So it's a great comparison. And I thought like, wow, that's what Wonder Woman is supposed to be like, just like Fiora, how they did in Man of Steel. And the way they portrayed her doing that, the way she really is, they did a great job. And that's what people want to see how Wonder Woman is. Because she is a warrior, and killing's part of their nature. You know, as Amazonians, they've been doing it since, the days of the gods.
Sure.
So, me and Sabrina, we both agreed that it was refreshing to see Wonder Woman to be like that.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I was really pleased with her. The Flash, I have to say, the Flash storyline was
he was an interesting eye opener for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's why. I never realized that Flash had a larger role at all. I just thought he was just he was this young guy, like young punk kid who has these powers or has this ability, and he was just kind of thrown into the mix because they could somehow leverage his ability, but not necessarily utilize perhaps what he has up here, the brain, and something more. And Zack Snyder, he completely gave Flash
a huge purpose.
And without the Flash, nothing would have come to...
It's crazy, right? If you think about compared to what it was in 2017, we saw Flash saving his people, get him out. But there was a bigger purpose. He was actually building up to it, because when they were in the tunnels, he had a bigger role saving them and defending and fighting the aliens too.
Yes.
Right?
But of course, his big role was in fact resurrecting the man.
Well, it was just not that. I mean that was
at the end.
At the end piece was huge. What he was the biggest factor in the end piece.
I was actually really
that
shocked. Granted, Wonder Woman was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it? But the Flash himself, I completely see the Flash in a whole new light.
His role, he had a major. Let's just put it this way first before we even dive into that. But everyone in the end piece really had a role to play. They literally formed a team unit.
Yeah.
That they all had a specific mission they had to do and accomplish, or else it would not work.
Yes.
And Batman came with the idea of this is what we need to do. He came up with a plan, and he had an ace up his sleeve that he was hoping on faith that would come through. But no one knew that, based on what we saw before, how big of a role Flash had and how big of a role Cyborg had too. Mm-hmm. And we know in the before, Zack Snyder kept saying Cyborg had a major role in this movie. And what do you think about Cyborg's role in this movie too?
Yeah, so obviously it's good to see that you have a little bit of a backstory on the Cyborg, because I personally did not know a whole lot about Cyborg. I think for the most part, as any person, I've never really read the comic books, so I can at least clearly state that I have not seen the comic books, read them. I've only heard of them, and I only learn of what other comic book readers have told me and educated me on. The only thing is that because Cyborg was almost, he too was almost kind of like the underdog of superheroes, I never understood what Cyborg's, how he came to be, what his role is, and the relationships that he had around him to kind of create this character, and who he ends up becoming, like his importance, his role. And so for them to really open up a little bit of a window, like a peek, right, into who Victor Stone is, and why he carried this huge resentment towards his father. And I didn't even realize Victor was a brainiac, that he was genius. He was a genius kid, and we would have never have known that, and unless they actually went back and told his story right before he ended up having his accident, and that his mother, was a defending role model in his life. And so it was really, really nice and refreshing as well to see Victor had a clearer story and a clearer role into how he was to contribute into the Justice League and their need to destroy the enemy or the enemies. So it was really good. It was really good on my part to get educated, to really see that, but also see the huge comparison from the very first movie. And then this one gave, it was clear. A very deep, crystal clear for me.
Yeah, very clear, decisive information about Cyborg, his back history, and there's a lot of interesting stories in continue on to this, because when we continue on, you could see that this, in the beginning, here we see Bruce Wayne, his goal is try to assemble them as a group. And he had a conversation early on with Alfred, and Alfred was telling him, like, if you can't get this group together, then and how do you know they're going to be good enough to beat this enemy, Steppenwolf? He goes, then how do you know Superman's going to be even available to help if that ever comes to fruition, right? And so another part before I talk about Batman, we see Aquaman, and he go through his struggles, right? We see like, you could see a troubled person, like he's hurt inside. He has troubles understanding people. He has hard time trusting people, but I think Aquaman was a major part in this movie too, because him and Diana had a major role in keeping Steppenwolf occupied, while the Flash and Cyborg had their major parts to do to get things going. So they were the ones who were trying to keep him occupied and defending Cyborg, and Batman was actually looking to defend Flash outside. While Flash was doing his thing. So it was really great to see, oh my God.
I like the way that Arthur was, or the Flash, he was saying, we actually have a plan now. So it was nice to see that. And I didn't realize what the plan would have been, of course, until, now that you're dissecting it and you're saying, so each of them had to do this and had to do that. And altogether, it just ended up working.
What's your thoughts about when Superman came in the scene, when finally Superman was brought back into the scene, in the fold, and the fight scene that we've seen before, but what was different about this fight scene?
Right after he was resurrected.
Yeah. What was your thoughts about that one?
A little scary. And here's why. Because you'd never think that Superman would all of a sudden go against something that's supposed to be good. You know what I mean? It's him to forget for a period of time who he is made me question his ability, his brain, his ability to think. And it's a little bit of it's alarming actually to see here's this guy who is capable of mass destruction, and yet he chooses to do good. But then for just a brief moment of him awakening from his death, and to not know what is good from evil. All right. I guess that would be good from evil. It just makes me think, what is he truly capable of?
Yeah.
And should we truly be afraid of him?
Well, it's clear, right? And Bruce Wayne in BVS actually said that, right? He has the power to wipe out the entire planet, right? And if he even becomes that, we have to take it as an absolute certainty that they have to find a way to stop him. But you're right, it is scary to see that. But one thing I have to share with you guys is in the fight sequence with when Superman and the Justice League, outside of Superman were fighting, there was other things in there that we didn't see that made actually more sense, right? When I saw the comparison from that to what was in 2017, it's like that didn't make sense. The fight scene, some of it didn't make sense. But then when you put it all together, what they show in this movie with Zack's cut, it absolutely perfect sense in how it came to be. Not the stupid line that "do you bleed" stuff. That was like, what is that line? That doesn't even make sense. That's not something Superman would ever say, right? To be rhetorical to Batman. That was just so stupid, and I didn't find that appealing. But to see the sequence there and how violent Superman was and how he's ready to kill actually every single one of them, right? And how all of them were literally having problems fighting him. And they showed multiple scenes where it was Aquaman, Flash teaming up to beat him. Cyborg couldn't do it. We saw some of the cutscenes from there when Superman was destroying it, where Cyborg was saving some of those cops and telling them they should move.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw the clips in the prior.
And Diana's struggle to actually kind of hold him off. I mean, she was taking on some critical hits, but at the same time, to see her really struggling with him.
It was interesting because we saw Superman ready to kill all of them. And it was scary to see that he was at that point ready. Like you saw when he was about to kill Flash. Like you see him, he's about to heat vision Flash to death, but something happens.
I have to admit, I really like that part where the Flash is running around him after Superman has all three in his grips.
Yeah.
And the Flash is running, and then Clark turns his head to, is like, I see you. And then Arthur's face was like, how does he see me? Or how's he doing
Flash
this?
scene, yeah.
That was comical, but it very freaky at the same time.
Yeah. But it was great. And then, when he comes in scene.
It's the little things that bring me joy, guys.
But it was a really good moment too is, we see the authenticity when Clark brings Lois to the farm. And then we see the true authenticity of him, Martha, all three of them together and their reactions. And we actually hear him say, they resurrected me for a reason, and I have to find out why.
Right.
Right? It was a huge part. And then I loved it too because in the shuttle, we've seen this clip before where there's a Zack Snyder cut where we see Clark walking through the scout ship and all the suits are coming on. But what I love that they added on this was the dialogue, the previous dialogue that they played from Man of Steel, from Jonathan Kent, and from Jor-El. There are little snippets about who he is and what he needs to become.
Yeah, his two great fathers, the major influencers in his life, that gave him the best life advices, so that he could decide what direction he wanted to take in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was good to see that part.
It was one of a very emotional
part
moment,
right? And it was a very uplifting moment because you could see this is where the tide would turn, right, kind of thing, right? And when we see Superman come down, he meets with Alfred, right, and clearly gets this idea of like what's going on because he has to find out, what it's coming down to.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you, what's your thoughts about when you first saw Darkseid?
I don't know. I creepy, scary. But I'm not sure. I never really understood Darkseid's his ability, his role, nor his backstory. To see him for the first time in this movie, if I have to talk about like the details of how they created Darkseid, he looks pretty damn menacing. Menacing in the sense that I don't want to fuck with him. It's just that he is that scary. But what perhaps I'm anticipating on is to see exactly what he is truly capable of, because you don't get to see Darkseid in a whole lot of action. You get to see a flashback of how the first war started, but I think he's had thousands of years to grow an armada, is what he called it, his armada, and conquer thousands more of worlds in between that time. So his level of strength, his and whatever powers or abilities he's probably absorbed in the multiverse, is that what they call it, multiverse? I think is quite frightening.
Yeah, so Darkseid is a god. He's considered as a new god, right? He's considered new god. So Zeus and that kind of godlikes, they're considered the old god. And so Darkseid had a thing against his quick backstory is Darkseid had a thing against the old gods, so he ended up tricking them, killing them, and obtaining their powers.
Okay.
And this was definitely after the New 52 comic books, I believe. But that's why he's considered, him and his legions are called the new gods.
The new gods.
So there's a war between him and another sibling of his, I think, that they have they're godlikes, but they're considered new gods. But so Darkseid's focus is always to conquer. He wants people to be enslaved, and so his focus has always been the anti-life equation. And basically, his goal of obtaining this anti-life equation is taking the ability for people to become, they don't have a choice anymore.
So they'll be zombies.
They'll be pretty much zombies under Darkseid's control.
And is that what I understand? They end up becoming
parademons.
Parademons,
yeah.
Thank you.
So they become servants to Darkseid. So that is his goal in finding the anti-life equation. How can I control every being, every life?
I want to know what his end goal is, because if you conquer everything in the multiverse and then all of a sudden create zombie-like servants, like
just to rule. Huh? That's his whole purpose.
Yeah, but what happens when you have, when you get to the end point?
That's his. But we don't. Well, that's his goal. So Darkseid's role is to. His focus has always been to.
If any of you guys have some form of theory on what Darkseid's end goal may be, it's one thing to conquer. It's one thing to constantly.
But you have to think about.
And if you get the antimatter equation. Is that what they call it?
Anti-life equation.
That's it. Anti-life, not antimatter. Okay, so you're gonna rule the multi-universe, or multiverse, but I'm just curious. Is what happens after that? Do you go into retirement and you just do nothing? If you have nothing.
That's such a human thinking.
I know. Sorry, I'm human.
So that's his focus is just.
Maybe I'm just too logical.
I mean, but his goal is just to rule and to do that. But there's always beings that fought him. I mean, he's been a god for hundreds of thousands of years, right? And so that's his whole purpose. So seeing Darkseid the way Zack Snyder has created him, the way they envisioned him, they made him come out, and his purpose, we can see that he is a powerful being. We can see that he has a major threat, right?
Okay.
And because at that point we saw that the old gods, Zeus and Ares, they're the ones with the Amazonians, the Atlanteans, the humans. They talked about outside alien or outside.
Yeah, we saw
some
Green Lanterns,
right? So we see that there's this. Everyone came in just to help push him away. They didn't defeat him. They just sent him back, kind of thing, right?
Yes.
And so with that, Darkseid has a bigger purpose because he's trying to find this anti-life equation so that he can control this purpose. But
okay, but so now that you've asked me that question about Darkseid, and I have had no understanding of who Darkseid is until this movie. So you, somebody who actually know about Darkseid, and seeing what Zack has done for Darkseid in this particular movie, what are your thoughts? I mean, how do you feel about it? And did they do Darkseid any justice based off of what you already know?
Right off the bat, the portrayal of Darkseid, the image of Darkseid and how they created him and how they made him look was fantastic.
Okay.
I think the way they made him look very menacing. The portrayal of him was really great. I think they did a great job. He did look very menacing. You can see the intelligence factor that he has, the plot. I love some of the segments that they played with him, which I'm going to jump into with it, because a part of it that we see here is when they had that nightmare sequence.
Okay, nightmare.
Right.
So yeah,
when we had that nightmare sequence. So one thing that we want to discuss here,
that's what they call it, nightmare
the
sequence.
nightmare sequence, right?
Okay.
So
Not a premonition or anything.
So yeah, no, it's not. Well, Bruce Wayne talks about that, but we see in the nightmare sequence, we see a little bit more, right? There's
Okay.
different plot twisted, and in this nightmare sequence, we actually see what Bruce Wayne is afraid of. In a nightmare, there's two nightmare sequences that actually happen in this movie, which is great. One, we see Darkseid actually what it looks like when he wins. So we see the death of Wonder Woman. We saw him killing Aquaman.
Wait, I don't think this is, well, did Batman see this? Because I thought it was Cyborg who saw this.
No, that's what I'm talking about. There's two different nightmare sequences.
Oh.
So this first one is what Cyborg is seeing. So thank you for
Yes.
clarifying that. But it's what Cyborg sees. So he sees Wonder Woman is dead.
Aquaman's dead.
Darkseid, we see Darkseid actually killing Aquaman.
Yes.
We see Superman with Batman's cowl, the headpiece, so we know
Yes.
he's been killed.
Yes.
And then at one point, we see Superman on his knees, crawling over and holding somebody.
It looked like
And
bones.
we know who it is, right? And why he's crying over it. It's Lois Lane. And then who do we see in this nightmare sequence? What Cyborg sees? He sees Darkseid walking up to Superman, and he puts his hand on his shoulder. So now he's going to be controlling Superman. This is the dream that Bruce Wayne fears. What if Darkseid was to control Superman, the most powerful being in the planet?
Okay.
Right? So that was the first nightmare sequence. The second nightmare sequence is at the end of the movie, which was a really different plot twist. Because now in the end of this movie, it kind of picked up off what Cyborg saw.
Yeah.
Because at the end, who did we see? We see Batman. We see Cyborg. We see Flash, but he had the uniform that he had to time travel with.
He also had a mustache.
Yeah. And then
He was much older. We had Mira. We also
saw Mira, and Mira explained like she wants to go after Darkseid because he killed Aquaman. And then we saw Deathstroke in there helping Batman.
Yeah.
And then because they're trying to accomplish something. Now, we don't know what this is about, but in this sequence, we see that this is a dialogue that Batman actually had with the Joker, with Jared Leto's Joker. He looked really good as a Joker. His tone was good. And the conversation that they had made you really think, like, what is going on with this?
I have to admit, it was very apocalyptic.
They
did an amazing job to recreate this very apocalyptic Earth. And there is much fear.
Yeah.
There is tremendous amount of fear in that group.
Yeah. So we can see this nightmare sequence that they had on too was really scary because now it made you think like, oh my God, what led up to this? Because now is it because the death of Lois Lane, we have Superman now teaming up with Darkseid to kill everyone here. So
Yeah.
It was quite interesting. And at the end of this nightmare sequence, we see Batman saying he found us, right? And we see Superman land, and he's about to use his heat vision to destroy all of them or kill all of them. And that's when Bruce Wayne wakes up from this nightmare sequence, right? So it was very terrifying, but I honestly think that, this opens up the door for other things to happen, for what's to come, because, Superman is still technically a major threat, and that's how Bruce Wayne sees it.
Okay.
Even though he's with them, he could still be a major threat.
Now, I have a Martian Manhunter. Now, they've really brought him to light in this version. And man, oh man, I'm actually curious as to Martian Manhunter's role in something that could potentially happen going forward. But he wasn't in the nightmare sequence.
No.
Sequences, because
No.
I'm guessing Cyborg had one, and then
Bruce Wayne.
Bruce is having the nightmare. It looks like almost Cyborg is having this weird premonition.
Visions through the mother box too.
Right.
If this was, yeah.
But Martian Manhunter, what do you know about Martian
So
Manhunter's role in this?
Yeah, so Martian Manhunter is
universe?
actually one of the original, or is part of the Justice League. He ends up joining with the Justice League. He is an alien being, which is great that General Swanwick is actually the Martian Manhunter. I think
John's, right?
Yeah, so I'm glad that he is going to be playing Martian Manhunter. I think no one else could have done better than him. His voice is good. The actor is really good. So it's good. And then at the end of the movie, this definitely opens up because we see Martian Manhunter even more. So we see him in the middle of the movie. He presents himself in disguise. We know that he could morph to human beings. As you can know, one of his identity is the General. But he introduced himself to Bruce Wayne at the end of the movie, right? Mm-hmm. And letting him know that, hey, I'm here and I'm going to be around more helping out because he has a part in this world, not because he lived there, because he works for the government. And knowing who Superman is and what the threat is, Martian Manhunter, other known as John, is an alien race who, was, he had to leave his planet Mars because it got eradicated and he was the only survivor. His wife and kids are dead. So he left and he moved to Earth. Mm-hmm. So he's a major role. He's actually one of the most powerful characters in the Justice League because, he is an alien too. Yeah. But so his role is crucial. So at the end of the scene, when we see him talking to Bruce Wayne, we can see that, wow, Martian Manhunter's coming on the scene now. So we know this is going to open up because he talks about like what his role is and what he's going to plan to do and help out even more so because there's more things to come. Mm-hmm. So, where does this lead up to is it comes down to the ending piece, which was what Darkseid said at the end. Near the end of the movie, Darkseid, they discovered when they had the final battle with Steppenwolf. Mm-hmm. And the battle scene was great because we see what, they're all adding it up to. Everyone's doing their part. And Superman comes to the scene to stop and save Cyborg from getting destroyed. He has a battle with Steppenwolf. Wonder Woman and Aquaman join in the fray to beat up Steppenwolf. I mean, Superman's doing damage to him. But the end piece about it is when Aquaman stabs Steppenwolf, throws him, Superman punches him, and then you see Wonder Woman coming up and fatalities him and cuts his head off right before he gets into the window scene where they see Darkseid for all of them
through the portal, right?
Through the portal where they see Darkseid for the very first time, and we see Steppenwolf going through and his head is cut off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But at that point, they discovered that Superman and Cyborg dismantle the mother boxes, and now Darkseid is forced to tell.
Forced to tell?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Darkseid now is forced to say and have a conversation, like, what's he going to do now? Because without the mother boxes, what's he going to do? And he says, well, we're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. Or the old way, assemble my armada. So he has an armada. I love that he said armada, too.
Armada.
That's huge, right? But, so what does that mean for Darkseid without the mother boxes? So how is he going to play a part? I honestly believe it's opening up even more because now he has to jump through different multiverses. He has to go through different ways to attack and get where he needs to get to back to this planet.
So I have a question. Are the mother boxes now dormant? Are they completely destroyed? What do you know about that?
So at this stage right now, from what we know, from what they said, it's been destroyed. We don't know yet if it is or not, what they're going to decide with it.
Because that guy, I don't know. He's the sidekick to Darkseid. It said something to Darkseid saying, my lord, the mother boxes are lost to us, or something along those lines, right? So I wasn't sure if that meant like they have no way to obtain the mother boxes now. Did they go dormant? So I think once they were separated, I didn't know that they could potentially be destroyed. And
that's the thing we don't know, right? So at this point, the Justice League can definitely take it and put it in some kind of security place. But to see what they're going to plan to do with it, because now they don't want that to happen, right? For now, their goal is to not have Darkseid come back and pose another threat to their planet.
Yeah. So now I know that the dream sequence of Bruce Wayne, when I think this was in another movie, that there was a truck, like an armored truck, that had. It was supposed to be kryptonite in a box. Mm-hmm.
That was one of his dream sequence, yes.
Yeah, and then the parademons came down. Mm-hmm. So it just makes me think that they are... Darkseid's one thing, right? Because Darkseid's bringing the armada. But it's ultimately Superman that is going to be their greatest obstacle or greatest
And
challenge.
So that's what Bruce Wayne's talking about. Why, he believes the biggest threat is if Darkseid acquires Superman to be in his team. That is the major threat, because now then
But he's only strong the way he is based off of the yellow sun, our sun in our solar system. So I'm just curious if Darkseid's goal is to only use Superman to have him bend to his will only on the planet Earth and within our solar system.
But yeah, that's just in our solar system. We don't know how many other yellow suns are out there in different universes and what other suns can do for him as well.
Yeah,
so that's the thing, and we can't. And it's clear. They also mentioned that Superman is pretty much, when he is like a walking battery. So when he's under the sun, he's just constantly full of energy. So his energy lasts for a long time. Always recharging. And as long as he's under there, he constantly has energy. But again, the dream sequence talks about, and this was Batman's biggest fear, was, Superman being taken over. So what's your overall thoughts about this movie? What would you grade it if you had to give it a thumbs up?
They should have released this from the get-go, you guys, because now seeing this version, and in comparison to the very first release, they basically made the very first release just trash. And I'm not trying to take away from anybody's creative abilities or creative input within the very first release, but the problem with that was, of course, one, for anybody who's not really fully versed in the Justice League and everything that ties into the comic book history, each character history, all I can say is from this point of view is that now I get a clear understanding of each major superhero or character's role within this version that I just saw. And then if they were to potentially continue on with the story, yes, now I get it. Because if they just left us suspended with just the first release back in 2017, and then they decide to throw on a continuation, I think I would have so many questions. You probably get tired of me asking them too.
No.
So I'm just saying that this one was better, and I'm not trying to be biased about it or anything. It's really truly in comparison, I really enjoyed this version, and I think that they could really roll off the story and continue on, which I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're going to potentially do something? Because I know that there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes that were an issue.
Well,
I don't know what they are.
So for me, I would honestly say this movie was phenomenal. Okay, so Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. If you haven't seen, you have to see Man of Steel. And if you watch Batman v Superman, the director's cut, Snyder's official cut, which was almost 3 hours long.
Wow, that's
okay,
just
almost or a little over 3 hours long. But it adds up everything. It makes absolute perfect sense. It's a great continuance to Man of Steel. It explains everything. And then when you put this together, it puts all three movies in a cohesive storytelling that it absolutely makes sense from beginning to end. And now, because it's a technically Zack Snyder's 3-part Superman movie, he just ties it in with Batman and the Justice League. Now the question is, and this comes back to the ultimate goal that they've had originally, if we're successful with Man of Steel, that it's going to open up the universe because there's so many more things. And with this cut of Justice League, Zack Snyder's cut, it literally opens up the multiverse for the DCEU, and they could do so many things now with this, because now it's clear Darkseid can go to any universe, which can be on the TV shows. If they merge the movies, they all can be combined together now, because this movie makes it all together that we can do it. So I love this movie. I'm giving it 2 double thumbs up. I think it was phenomenal. The story, it didn't seem like 4 hours. Great character development. Everyone had a major part. The story was very good. I never got not one bit bored with it. I was so in tune with it. I saw the difference, and I was so glad that we got to experience it. And it's an HBO Max, guys, so you guys have a chance to get it and watch it. I know a lot of people have watched it multiple times. They said they can't believe it's 4 hours.
Are we watching it again?
Oh, we're gonna watch it again multiple times because there's a lot of things into it, right? And so I definitely want to put it all together again. I have to say this movie, I would definitely recommend you guys go watching this movie. And if you missed the first, there's a lot in 4 hours, but you get so great because they do chapters such a great way to split up the story so you don't get bored, you don't get dull, you expect something.
We have to admit, we actually got something to eat. And we were eating it. It was almost like intermissions, right? It was nice. Hey, come on.
And, I mean, that's the beautiful thing about it, right? Because it's HBO Max. It's in our living room. It's the comfort of your home.
Yes.
So you'd have a time to intermission.
Yeah.
And Zack Snyder did say, there's a certain part in the movie where it is kind of an intermission. So we did take Zack Snyder's word of advice about that. So thank you, Zack, for that. But it was great because we really got to sit down, get our foods, really talk about the first few chapters, and then come back, sit down, eat our food, and continue on with the rest of the chapters. So it was really great. Our family had a great time watching it. We really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Do
you want them? Are you crossing your fingers that they're going to continue?
I think that there's going to be a push now for a second or a sequel.
Zack Snyder, please make a
WB, you guys, we got to make a continuous because we can't stop. We can't make this stop. There has to continue on. And because we know who's part of the Justice League too. We know that they're on the works of talking about Shazam too. We know that they're working on Aquaman too, right? So we know there's a huger part with this.
Do you think they'll reprise the Green Lantern?
Green Lantern has to become in this part. He was in this movie. A Green Lantern, not exactly an Earth Green Lantern, but there was a Green Lantern.
Yes.
So we know the Green Lantern is part of the Justice League. They are part of that group. So we already see Martian Manhunter, so we know he has a major role.
Yes.
They're probably going to create a movie with him because we want to see his backstory too.
Yes.
How are we going to add Green Lantern? So this universe is wide open.
Okay.
Wide open. So with Dwayne Johnson going to be making Black Adam, right, and Shazam, so they're all part of this universe.
Okay.
So it's going to open up even more. Right, so the universe of DCEU is wide open. Now they could really start focusing and building other things just based on these 3 movies that Zack originally, Christopher Nolan and Gru came up with, from Man of Steel, BVS, and now Justice League.
Yeah, it's
wide open. And if we've had this from the beginning, we would probably be in a different level. Yeah. If they stuck with this, I honestly believe we would probably see different levels of different other characters, which would carry on the story. But it's all about timing. Please, I would love to see a sequel. I would love to see more open up for this Justice League universe and DCE.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. What he said, you guys. And if there's any particular superhero DC character that you guys are interested in hoping that they will bring to the forefront, in any sequels or, other movies, I think, just put them down in the comments below. I mean, let's open up a dialogue and see exactly, how, and if there's information about them, educate us on this, because I'm sure the other viewers would probably want to understand exactly why you've chosen that particular character. Same for me. It would be nice for me. With that said, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Hit that bell notification, because we will be pushing out some more videos on other movies or shows that we will be reviewing as well. And we'd love to hear from you guys, so please make sure to leave a comment below. All right, with that said, till next time, guys, we will see you later.
See you guys.